Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. You amazing, amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. I hope you are doing well on this terrific, terrific Thursday. Now, I've had a bit of a shift round of video, so tomorrow I'm likely to sound like I don't know what day it is again. And I'm going to say it's Thursday, and I'm going to look a complete idiot because I'm going to leave that video for tomorrow. Because what I wanted to do today is just kind of put us in a place so we know where we're going in terms of the hearing that is happening later on today around the Idaho 4 case, just to put things into perspective and perhaps just to take a moment and have a little prayer together for the little girl that is Bill Thompson. We just want to make sure that he gets through the hearing safe. Nothing happens to him, because we know he gets a little bit, he gets a little bit frustrated, he gets a little bit angry when things don't go his way. But the question is, in this, is are the things that he's asking for and are the things that he's saying and putting forward, should they be happening? Or is he actually bordering now on, I don't know how else to put it, but is he trying to make rules unto himself? So we just touch on, let's touch on this doc to start with, so we know what the hearing is all about later on today. So the motion hearing today is at 10 a.m. local time to Latah County, which is around 5 p.m. UK time. So I will be streaming that. So if you want to see it, make sure you keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled. Smash subscribe if you haven't. Like the video as well. Like the video, because it helps get more people to see the video. So I've been told. So that's the motion hearing today. And this is a motion hearing, state's motion to close hearing and the defendant's objection. So that's pretty much straightforward, isn't it? What they're basically saying is the prosecution now wants to block from the public ongoing hearings now. There has been some movement around the IGG information. They're kind of agreeing to hand more of the IGG information over to the defense team. Whether they're just kind of trying to protect some of that information, who fucking knows at this stage, but it would appear that, they're just trying to hide more and more stuff from the public. And what the defense are saying is, look, you're requesting things to be hidden from the public, and you're doing it with no real grounds in doing so. And I feel that what's coming out now is that we are beginning to learn that it is most likely the prosecution who has controlled the vast majority of what is being held from the public. And is it being held? This is the big question. Is it being held from the public because they know the more the public sees and learns of what the prosecution is doing or have done or have not done or have not got, is it going to weaken the solidarity between the public and potential jurors even? Is that what's going to happen? Is that what's going to happen? Do they need the gag order in place to give that almost like a false impression that their case is stronger than perhaps what it is? But look, media have been jumping on board as well. Let's just jump across to here, as this proves more that he is the little whinging girl. And this is regarding Brian Koberg's alibi ripped apart in Idaho prosecutor's temper tantrum. You can imagine, when I say he's like a little girl, can you imagine them little girls that cross their arms and stamp their feet? Here, that is exactly what he is like. I might try and I'm going to dress him up like one in the thumbnail. That should be quite amusing. So Idaho prosecutor in Brian Koberg murder case asked judge to preclude testimony from defense expert witness. Now, we went through the docs the other day. If you haven't read them docs, you haven't seen them docs, head back a couple of days or so and I went through them. But this is kind of a breakdown of that. So Idaho student murder suspect Brian Koberg's alibi that he was driving around looking at the moon and stars is too vague, according to prosecutors. Now they're asking the judge to deny any further requests from his defense to call witnesses other than the defendant himself in an attempt to prove he wasn't at the King Road home at the time of the stabbings that killed University of Idaho students Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Gonsalves, both 21, their housemate Xana Canodal, 20, and her visiting boyfriend Ethan Chapin, who was also 20. With the exception of the reference to Wawa Park, which is new, the defendant offers nothing new new to his initial alibi. He was simply driving around during the morning hours of November 13th, 2022. Later, County Prosecuting Attorney Bill the Girl Thompson wrote in a court filing. As the state noted during the August 2023 hearing, the state is aware that the defendant was driving around rural areas of Whitman County, Washington, and Latah County, Idaho, during the early morning hours of November 13, 2022. In fact, the defendant's travels during that time are described in the original probable cause affidavit supporting the criminal complaint in this case. Yes, but I think they've put a segment there, which we don't need to look. We've all seen the PCA. The prosecution's concerns may not be enough to convince the judge. However, according to Edwina Elcox, a Boise-based defense attorney who previously represented the cult mum killer Lori Vallow, is not up to the state to determine what is or not relevant to the defense. She told Fox News Digital, try as they may to control the narrative, which is exactly what they are trying to do. She noted that Kohberger has a constitutional right to mount a defence and called the latest filing the prosecution's equivalent of a temper tantrum. It has now been approximately 11 months since the state filed its request for discovery, disclosure, alibi demand on May 23rd, 2023, and almost a year and a half since the homicide occurs. The defendant has been given more time than he legally entitled to in order to provide his alibi. But let's not forget that his alibi is all about proving his alibi, corroboration of that alibi, and a vast majority of that has been dependent upon information that they have not been forthcoming with. And in fact, they're still not forthcoming with in terms of the cast data. They don't have that. Maybe the FBI just haven't given it to them. They can't fully take the blame for it, but ultimately that trickles downhill, doesn't it? They're saying, okay, your alibi isn't good enough. You've got to prove more. You've got to prove to us and show us some data or something. But they can't do that if they don't have the data to reference against. But more than a year after the murders, Kohberger's lawyers filed an alibi with the court claiming he was simply driving around. Mr. Kohberger was out driving in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did to hike, run, and or see moon and stars, his lawyer wrote. He drove throughout the area south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Wawa Park. Other experts agree with Thompson's claim that the alibi is a little lacking. It is a little lacking. I 100% agree it's a little lacking, but what they're trying to say, and again, this is all down to, is Ann Taylor playing with the public, or does she have means to prove what she's trying to suggest? And that is that Brian Kohberger was indeed driving around, but he wasn't driving around Moscow fucking Idaho. That's what they need, isn't it? And this is like, what is going on here? Don't need to read any more of that. What is going on in this is Bill Thompson is trying to close the door for Brian Kohberger to add any further information to that alibi. So what are they trying to say then? And let's say the guilters, what would you feel is the right thing to do here? Just say there is a way that it can be proven that, yes, Brian Kohberger was driving around that night, and it can be proven, in fact, that he was driving around in an area that wasn't Moscow, Idaho, at the time with which this crime took place. Would you simply want to satisfy your want to see Brian Kohberger punished for the crime? You feel that it's right that Bill Thompson should be able to block the prosecution and the defense, and Brian Kohberger's ability to further show work on this alibi and hide behind them being able to turn around and say, yeah, but it's easy to fabricate an alibi. Well, it's not. You can either prove it or you can't prove it. There should be now some deadlines set in place. I agree there should be, but the deadline should be on both sides. The judge should be turning around and saying, right, you as the prosecuting team need to hand over everything that you have. All of the stuff that you claim that you have that proves that this guy did this crime, just hand the fucker over and get it done with. Get it over and done with. If you feel that your confidence is, we know that this guy did this crime. We know we've got the evidence. We've got stuff that nails him to the cross. Then hand the fucker over. And if they don't, then surely their mentality should be, okay, if you're saying he weren't there and you can prove it, then go and do it. Then go and do it. Prove it. And force both Ann Taylor and Bill Thompson to give over what they have. Spit it out. Spit it out. Just get on with it. This is becoming a bit of a to and fro tug of war again. But ignore all that for a second. Ignore the games. Let's just step back, Shadrach, and understand that there is a guy's life on the line here. And if there is a chance that he did not do that, and he is in fact in this position purely because during a police interview earlier on, he indeed said, well, I can't prove that I wasn't there. I was just driving around. I would regularly drive around. I'd go and fucking sit in while we park, whatever. You know, do you know what I mean? He made himself, and I said this recently, he made himself a target for being a scapegoat for this crime. He made himself a scapegoat. And what with Idaho law enforcement likely understanding that their legal requirements in terms of an alibi would likely be unable to be fulfilled by Brian Kohberger, it further put him in a bucket. Because they thought, well, he can't get round this. And now what seems to be happening, now Ann Taylor is coming forward and saying, well, hold on a second, we do have a guy who's likely to be able to prove that he wasn't there. It seems to me that they're floundering. And Bill Thompson, the angry little mad little girl, is losing his shit over it. And now he wants that hidden. He wants this put behind closed doors. He wants Brian to not be able to contact anyone or bring in any witnesses to further in that line of an alibi, apart from himself, he can say, which he knows offers no credibility whatsoever. It's just becoming the Bill Thompson show. And it's beginning to be a little bit fucking annoying. John Judge needs to get hold and get control of his fucking courtroom. And Bill Thompson needs to sit down, take a moment, have a breather, and understand that he has as much of a duty as well to allow Brian Kohberger a fair and unbiased trial. And to me, at the moment, the person who is showing the most signs of absolute bias is Bill Thompson himself. And he is leveraging a possible underlying friendship with Judge John Judge to manipulate him to have a court that favours Bill Thompson and what Bill Thompson wants. And that's my opinion only, a non-professional opinion, but that's what I'm getting from it. Let me know down below what you think. And like I say, we'll catch each other later as we enter Latah County Court. Let's see if he can hold it together. What are we going to end up with? You tell me. I'll see you all in the next one.